Alrighty, so episode number 2. Today I want to talk about an anniversary I had yesterday. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you might have seen my post about that yesterday has been a year since I got back from the US. Insanity. I feel like that was almost like 2 years ago because so much has happened since I got back. Like when I got back, I had no idea what was up next. I knew I had like a serving job and that was gonna like help me out, but besides that, I kind of had just started on my blog. I had started in April and I got home at the end of August, and so I was very much just like, okay, what do I do now? My blog was kind of more just a hobby. I talked about this yesterday on my post, but even though I started my blog abroad, which was a really, really big step for me, I still like got home and had these thoughts of these little dreams that I had and these things that I wanted to do, but I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that I could do them. I didn't think I could do it. I didn't think I was worthy. I didn't think that I could do something like that. It just literally wasn't something I was capable of. And so much has changed in the past year. And I really talked about that on my Instagram of just a few things and a few goals that I had for myself that have really come to fruition. And I literally cannot believe it. I was like pretty emotional yesterday just thinking about all the differences that have been this past year. But anyways, for today's video, I wanted to talk about how I spent a year in Europe with only $5,000. That's it. So, before I left for Europe, I sold everything. I sold most of my furniture, I moved out of my apartment, I sold my car, and I bought a one-way ticket and just moved to France. So today I just wanted to talk about how I was able to do that. It didn't really hit me that like I spent a year with only $5,000. Like someone the other day was like, you only had $5,000? Like how in the world did you make that happen? And when I thought about it, I was like, oh, yeah, I guess that is like not that much money. So I'm here today to tell you how you can also move abroad or live abroad or travel abroad for close to nothing if you're willing to do a few things along the way. The way that I moved to Europe was through a site called Workaway. If you haven't heard of Workaway, it's amazing. It's such a cool site. So it's an exchange program where you can go abroad and people put postings of like help that they need. So like running a hotel or helping them like build a garden or helping them with construction work or helping with babysitting my 2 kids. It's all of these different types of work, and in exchange you don't get paid, but you get a bed and you get food, and usually you get like a language exchange as well. So I wanted to go to France because I speak French and my French had gotten really rusty from living in the US and not really using it a lot, and so I wanted to go to France and be able to speak French while also getting an exchange so I'm not having to like pay for room and board, which room and board is really, it just eats up most of your costs, especially when traveling. Like even a cheap place, if you're spending, $15 a night, that's gonna quickly add up. So for me, I did Workaway, so I didn't have to spend any money on room or board. And then when I moved to France, I had an exchange program where I was going to be teaching adults French because the mom I stayed with was a English teacher to adults, and so I would take over some of her classes during the week, and then if I wanted to, I had the option of giving private lessons to them, to children or to adults, for like 10 euros an hour. So not much, but there was a chance to get a little pocket money. But for 5 months, the only time I was spending money was if I would go on trips. I would go on a decent amount of trips. I mean, I probably spent 2 weekends every month at least, like traveling in Europe, because I had an airport right next door and was able to get super cheap flights, and so I could go and explore a place in Europe for a weekend and spend like 200 euros. So nothing. And so it made it super easy to travel because I wasn't spending any money at home, so going and traveling was a lot easier and cheaper than if I had to like be constantly moving, constantly spending money. If you're looking to move abroad, live abroad, and want to save money, look up Workaway. It's workaway.info. You have to pay, I think it's $28 a year for membership, but it's really so worth it. I recommend it to everybody who wants to go abroad. So the France situation didn't end up really working out well. The family and I just didn't click well. It was really like toxic environment, and so after 4 months, I messaged our family friends in Brussels who had 2 little girls. So they offered to like let me come, and the same thing where I did an exchange. And so I lived with them and basically was like an au pair where I woke up, helped with the kids, they would go to school. The whole day I got to do whatever I want, and then when the girls would come home, I would play with them, give them a snack, and then I would make dinner, and I would just do that every day. So once again, I wasn't spending a lot of money. They were paying for groceries, they were paying for my like room. The only time I was spending money was if I went out and explored or did my own thing, which I will admit I became a little bit of a homebody for a couple months because I just was so focused on my blog that I was like, putting all my attention into it. It was like, I'm gonna work on this blog, I'm gonna get it launched. Spent like a couple months literally like working 9 a.m. till 3 p.m. nonstop, and then 8 p.m. until like midnight just to get this thing out there. And so for a couple months I was a homebody, which also helped me save money. And so those are like the 2 biggest things that like I ended up just not spending a lot of money because my 2 biggest expenses most of the time were taken care of. While I was actually traveling, I was also traveling super budget, and so even when I was traveling, I still wasn't even spending that much. So here are a few things that I did also while I was traveling to save money. For one, I did couchsurfing a lot. If you haven't heard of couchsurfing, it's an awesome site. It's a site that basically people from all over the world who are travel-minded or very open offer their homes, their couch to someone in exchange for just cultural exchange, where you come and you visit their home and you get to hear about where they're from. They get to show you around as like a local would, and then you also usually like cook them a meal or you tell them about yourselves. And it's very much like the idea is an exchange. It's not a hotel. You don't just go and like not see them, not talk to them. Sometimes you do, but most of the time the whole idea is to really create like a community of like travelers, a community of exchange. And so I did couchsurfing, and that was free room and board as well. I was getting to hang out with locals who they know the best spots, they know usually like the best food. A lot of times we're doing things that don't involve money because it's like secret hidden spots, or like we're going hiking, or we're doing things like that. And so couchsurfing is a great way to save money. After that, I would stay in hostels. Hostels in Europe are kind of expensive. I mean, usually the cheapest one is like 15 euros. I guess that's not that expensive, but compared to South America where I was paying like 7, 8, 10 euros max. But in Europe, the cheapest one is 15 euros. But still, if you're willing to spend less money to sleep in a dorm with, 6 to 8 people a night, you're not spending a lot of money on lodging. Usually hostels come with free breakfast, so you don't spend money for breakfast. And then a lot of times I would choose hostels that have kitchens because then I could cook. Another way I was able to really save a lot of money was flights. Flights in Europe are so cheap. It's insane. Like I remember paying like 10 euros for a flight to Portugal. I've paid 20 euros for a flight to Brussels. Just so many cheap flights that make it so much more accessible to travel and get around. Not only do you have trains, you also have not only have planes, you also have trains. You also have this amazing thing that is really popular in France, BlaBlaCar. Oh my gosh, if you're going to Europe and you haven't heard about BlaBlaCar, look it up. It's a car sharing service. So someone is traveling, let's say Brussels to Paris, they're going there for the weekend, and they offer like 3 or 4 spots in their car just to make some extra gas money, and you pay for a spot in their car, and then you like take the trip to Paris with them. And it's usually cheaper sometimes than the train, so it's great, and then you get to meet other people while traveling, which is always good. I would do BlaBlaCar, I would do trains, I would do planes. I feel like I'm like doing a Dr. Seuss, like green eggs and ham. On the train, on the plane. Okay, anyways, those were all ways that I was able to save while traveling, which made my $5,000 stretch so much longer than if I had gone to Europe and I was constantly moving. So having a home base, you're going to save a lot of money. Constantly moving, finding cheap airfare, like if flying to Paris was 100 euros, but then flying to Prague was only 15 euros, then I'm going to obviously try to go to Prague versus Paris that weekend. taking trains, taking BlaBlaCar, couch surfing, hostels. And then what really ended up helping was the last little bit of my stay. I lived in Brussels and I got a job in a brewery. It was just, I would work Thursday or Friday night. We were only open Thursdays to Sundays. So I work a couple nights on the weekends, make some cash tips, and it kept me just even for about a month, 2 months, which was really great because once I hit that June mark, I started running a little low on cash. So I was like, okay, how can I make just a little cash to keep me afloat for a few more months? And so I found out about this brewery job literally just by walking in. It was a craft brewery in Brussels Beer Project. Love you guys. And so it was just a brewery, and I walked in and I got to talking to the guy behind the bar, and I was like, oh, are you hiring? And we're like, yeah, actually. And so he took my information, and I ended up being able to work in a brewery on the weekends, getting to hang out with local Belgians, which is amazing, and then getting to meet all these tourists, all these foreigners coming into the bar, and being able to work on my French, my Spanish, my Dutch, my English, working on all those languages, also making some money on the side. So that really ended up helping out towards the end when I started running a little low on cash. Those are all the ways that I was able to make a little amount of money stretch out to an entire year. Oh, also I always had a backpack, and so I was never checking a bag. Avoid checking bags if you can, because especially flying cheap airlines, they're always going to get you on that, trying to make some extra money off of you by checking a bag. So pack light, always, because it's easier to walk around, to not have to pay baggage fees, and you can wear the same outfit over and over because nobody has seen you, and so it doesn't matter as long as you don't have a huge coffee stain on your shirt. And so yeah, that's how I did it. If you are interested in moving abroad or living abroad, feel free to reach out to me if you have any specific questions or wondering if you can do it, how to do it, how I chose a workaway. That can be a little tedious. There's a bunch of listings. If you guys have any questions at all, feel free to put them in the comments or find me on Instagram at Riding Around the Globe and send me a direct message on there, and I will try to answer your questions the best I can. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today for episode number 2. I hope you found some useful information in this video. As always, thanks for watching. Feel free to subscribe if you like these videos, and I will see you all next week. Alright guys, stay dope.